inspired to push through. Because there's a spark in you. Breakthrough or bust.
Awesome.
Hello. Welcome back to Breakthrough or Bust. And I am so excited to have Marie Mason here today with us. How are you, Marie?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad. And actually, just really quick before you introduce yourself, I was recently on Marie's show and it was so much fun. And I would really encourage you to go check out her show. And Marie, maybe tell us a little bit more about you and even that show. So if anybody wants to catch up with you that way.
Sure. Yeah, the name of the show is Marketing Mindset Mastery, but let me go first into who I am so you will at least kind of at least some clue what I do and everything. But basically, I'm Marie Mason. I have a background in preschool teaching and administrative assistant and owned my own daycare when my son was little. I also am the podcast host for Marketing Mindset Mastery. I am getting ready to launch my first children's book. Hopefully sometime this year. It's too date to be announced because I don't have a specific target date yet. And then I'm also a professional speaker. I also I'm a business mindset coach. I mean, you name it, I have done it. So anyway, and at 50 years old, I decided this was 3 years ago. So at 50 years old, I was unhappy with the way my life was, both personal and professionally. And I just literally made a decision to reinvent myself and so happy I did. My marriage is so much better. I just celebrated my 19th wedding anniversary with my husband this weekend. So thank you.
Congratulations.
And I don't think I would have said that 3 years ago. So, but I'm glad that we stuck it out and we're still together. And then now I also support heart-centered coaches to launch their webinars, and by doing so, we help them to personalize their their client generating scripts so that they can feel confident without feeling salesy, so that they're basically using our webinar blueprint. We figured out a simple format and it really works well. And it's very good at helping basically to filter your clients. Because what is it that you do? I don't know about you if you do a lot of one-on-one discovery calls, and sometimes
Yes.
you don't feel like you're being productive. So that's where the webinars come in because they can help filter those clients that are just not quite ready to run. And you can do a one-to-many approach and then filter the ones that are, you might not be as booking your calendar so much, but you're being more strategic in who you book it with. And I think that's where webinars, because they can see get to know you, get to build that trust before they get on a call with you. So they already know
Mm,
about you and they know what you do, and they know that you can solve a specific problem that they have. So as long as you get really clear on that, that's really what the webinars are for. And being visible on webinars or podcasts is really key this day and age, and getting above the crowd, because it's the best way to make the best noise in a sense, in the proper way. And my secret sauce is I like going to the extra mile just to make sure that my clients succeed, because we want to help them get their message out and help them put the spotlight on them. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So
I love it. It's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So we're here today to talk about one of your breakthroughs. We all have many breakthroughs, but
More
there
than I
was
care to count.
right, but there was one in particular we had talked about. You were going to share today. Do you want to tell us about that initial challenge?
My initial challenge when I was younger, I had lots of sinus infections growing up, and it caused me to have my adenoids and tonsils taken out. And as a result, I had to literally relearn how to talk, because when I got done with that surgery, it went well, but was a little complicated, and I ended up doing one or two word sentences in order to communicate, like the words leash dog to tell somebody we need to go take the dog for a walk. And I
Mm-hmm.
was 4 years old, 4.5 years old, and I had already been speaking in full sentences. To go from that to two word sentences was heartbreaking to my family. So
Yeah.
we literally had to go to specialists. We had to go to Lancaster, Pennsylvania to go get, I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. And that's a good day's trip.
Yeah.
So, and we had to go take time out and go do that and get specialist speech therapist specialists because they weren't as plentiful back in the 70s. That's when on the time frame I was growing up. And then I was growing up. I was born in the late 60s and I was 70s. There was still stuff that they were trying to figure out back then. Um, I would have tutors that would help me with it as well. My mom was very vigilant about making sure she corrected me constantly to the point where I'm like, I didn't want to hear one more correction. Anyone can relate that from their parents? Let me
Yeah.
or guardians or whatever whoever is watching you. I'm sure you're like, I don't want to be corrected one more time. So anyway, long story short, it was just one of those things where it was a lot of work, and in 2 years, I managed to get my speaking voice back. I was able to really talk in good sentences, and I'm probably made up for it since then. But it's a struggle of victory because people had some really concerns about that. And the good thing is it wasn't anything life threatening. But at the same time, it was something where if you're dealing with a speech impediment or a learning disability, because I also was diagnosed with a learning disability in the 3rd grade, and a mild one, it's called auditory perception.
Mhm.
And I can hear excellent. I just couldn't process it
Yeah.
accurately. So what I heard didn't always match with what someone said. You know, the telephone game we played when we were kids,
Yes. Yeah.
where the teacher would say something and at the end of the line, the last person, it always was disordered, never was
Hmm.
quite the same. And of course, we all laughed over it because it was funny, because
Yeah.
it was always funny when it was the end. But anyway, the long story short, sometimes that's how it is in my brain. It's how my brain processes it. It scrambles it. So I've learned to overcompensate and overcome that challenge in their different ways. And so seeing it, hearing it, saying it made a huge difference. But we all learn differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm trying to tell people it doesn't matter how you learn or if you have speech problems or impediments. It's not about what it is that's your disability, it's about your abilities. And
Hmm.
focus on your strengths. People always focus and point fingers at things you're doing wrong, but they never seem to point fingers at the things that you did right till after you're gone. So my message is make sure we point fingers at the things that we do right for a change, not the
Yeah.
things that we do wrong. We can change things, fix those things that are wrong. And some things we can't control. Some things we can. Let's fix the things we can and let's focus on the things we can do. Because I
Hmm.
think that makes much better for human interaction and building real authentic friendships too. Because if we focus on the positive rather than the negative, we're going to get a whole lot better results in
Absolutely.
our
And
relationships.
I'm thinking of that, and I can't think of the expression fully, but it's like if we're judging someone like judging the fish on its ability to ride a bicycle, you know what I mean? Like
They have no legs. How can they ride a bike? I mean, that
exactly,
just, yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah,
kind of that idea. And so if yeah, I love that idea of focusing on the ability. And of course, yes, you're going to come up with strategies and different ways to
right,
balance the challenge, but then let's really feed into the the natural talent, the ability. And
right,
you know confidence is what I keep hearing is, when you're doing it that way, you're really just uplifting that sense of confidence and worth.
right. Right, and
Yeah.
it is about building someone's self-image and self-worth because when you're dealing with learning disabilities or dealing with speech impediments, one of the things that it is so much. I think society has pigeonholed us into believing that we have to be perfect. And
Hmm.
I'm telling you, you don't have to be perfect. People are good enough just as they are to do whatever they plan on doing because in the end it's all about making sure you're confident in yourself and finding your own authentic voice is so crucial.
Yeah.
That's what it is in anything that I do is I have to have be myself and have my own authentic voice. And I also encourage that to the clients that I work with for my virtual assistant agency. And what we do is we help with those those clients with their webinars. We're helping them with making sure that they find their authentic voice. And then I may have formulas that might work really well for them. And but in this case, that's why we customize it, we personalize it. We want to make sure they're coming from their um, own voice and getting the message out. But we're just helping them with the framework and making sure that they get a good presentation so that they are getting the best message out there to reach their right audience. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important that when we really understand who we are and we really understand what it is we're trying to accomplish, and
Hmm.
we but doing that authentically and showing up authentically. So
Yeah, you bring up that a good point, like understanding our strengths and then also owning them. Because sometimes
mhm,
we back down. We want to play small.
yep,
And yeah. And so, yeah, that's an interesting point. And, you remind me of, I'll say sometimes, a tapestry, we're all a tapestry. And I've heard other people say like a puzzle.
yep,
We all have this shape and color to add to the overall work,
mhm,
the overall project. And without us doing it our way, our authentic piece, it doesn't work. Either we're like the missing piece because we're hiding, or we're trying to be the rest of the pieces, which doesn't help. We need our piece in that,
well, and that's true. I mean, in anything that we do, I like the fact that you brought that analogy up because um, if you ever done a puzzle, what do you usually start with to get it you, to be able to see the bigger picture? Don't you start with the edge pieces first,
Yeah.
and then you work your way inward to the center?
Hmm.
So that's what we do with webinars, and that's what we do with anything that I do in my business and in my life. I start with the framework, and then
Hmm.
I fill in the missing pieces. And like you put it, so it just and you sometimes you have to figure out what works. You have to turn it around until you get the right angle. Because if you actually have a puzzle piece in your hand and it doesn't quite fit, sometimes you have to turn it around and find the right groove that it goes in belongs to. And that's our groove is like our authentic voice. Our groove is,
Yeah.
we got to make a little pivot. And that's when you turn that puzzle piece around and make sure you pivot and find the right spot, because you have to find your sweet spot,
Yeah.
you know, and,
Yeah.
and when you find your sweet spot, then everything just flows naturally like it should. So,
And I love that you mentioned, heart-centered business owners, because I find that a lot of times it is the heart-centered business owners who tend to back down. You know, I think there's usually a couple of different things happening. There's that idea of, oh, financially profiting from
right.
heart-centered services is one. Another is, stuff around being seen. Are they good enough? Especially when you get into that heart-centered stuff, it's like we've been taught for so long it has to be hard. We're not allowed to enjoy our work, And so when somebody decides to follow their passion and they love it, they're like, well, I can't be successful at this. No, I can't.
That's a myth spread by people who don't believe themselves. I'm just saying.
That's right. Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you the people one of the things I've learned and studied, I studied business owners, and I was an independent business owner for 22 years, and my husband still is for a lot longer than that. But long story short, during that time when I was an independent business owner and I was doing it through non-traditional business, but it was still kind of more traditional than my kind of business. It had structure already built into it, so it was a little less thinking involved. But but what I learned from that business model is that you really have to find your leadership skills, and you have to be able to find what it is that you are really, really good at in that industry.
Yeah.
And I probably am butchering what I just was trying to say. But anyway, long story short, and I can't remember what just refresh my memory just so I'm making sure I'm on track. What it is you just said prior to that, because I want to
Just
make sure I
about
answer.
the idea of heart-centered business owners often make themselves smaller, or
Right.
they kind of hide, and it can be different things that come up, unconscious beliefs, or sometimes they're even conscious.
Right. So a lot of them played that mental ping pong,
Yeah.
and they call it there's a particular word I'm trying to find, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but if I find it, I'll share it with you. But long story short, though, the imposter syndrome, a lot of it played that mental ping pong. I knew that I was going to remember it if I talk about it enough. Some days just your tongue does not want to cooperate. Anyway, I don't know if you can relate to that.
As we speak about authentic communication.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Kind of
that's
have to be
part of
real.
it.
Yeah,
That's part
it's
of it.
and I don't claim age on that, by the way. This is
No,
just that memory
no,
thing is not an age thing. I'm sorry. I'm gonna
I'll
say that
do the same thing.
I've had this problem since I was yay high, and I'm sorry. I'm not gonna claim the age thing on that one. But anyway, long story short, so basically what it is we play so much mental ping pong, and we feel like because we are not good at a skill, that we cannot operate in that capacity.
Mhm,
Um, and I think what I want to say to people is if you know a skill, start with what you know first. This is what I tell my business students all the time because I'm also a business mindset coach. Start with a skill you know because you've already got the education. You don't need to further your education because you already got it. You've already owned it and you know it well enough, right? And start with what you know first. And then
mhm.
you can always build on that or add to it and branch off and add more services as you gain more skills. Don't be
Yes.
afraid to try other things, but be good at one particular thing and then branch out and add to it. Now, also be aware of being well known for one specific thing. I'm known as an event manager. That's my main focus. I also do event planning. So that's another focus. I also can do podcast coaching and business mindset coaching. But those are offshoots. They're not really, they're sort of separate entities.
Mhm,
But at the same time, I want to be well known for being an event manager, especially a virtual event manager.
mhm.
I do everything from home. So, long story short, they need to figure out what their main core focus is, their niche. And then, like I said, they can offer other services as
Yeah,
add-ons.
I'm hearing that again, just that same idea as start with your strengths.
Right,
I know, our tendency is to perseverate on whatever it is that we're not as good at. Oh, I
right,
can't possibly do. Yeah, you can, because guess what? Get going with your strengths. If you can't pick up the other stuff, you're going to make all that money with your strengths that you're going to hire somebody to take care of the other stuff.
exactly.
So there you go. You know?
And that's what I tell them too. I says, if figure out the things that excite you and do
Yeah.
those things. And what are the things that don't excite you or motivate you? Outsource it.
Yeah.
There's so many apps out there you can outsource to that or a human being. But if you outsource to an app or a software, I'm going to encourage you don't lose that human being connection because you still
Mhm.
want to sound like a human on those softwares.
Yeah.
So you still use your same voice in there. Don't use just the automated messages. Try to customize it so it still sounds like you and
Yeah.
not somebody else's voice. You always want to make sure you're being yourself through anything that you do because people are going to smell fake a mile away. I don't know
Yes.
about you.
Yes.
I can already tell by the first few lines what somebody's trying to tell me, and I could tell if it's automated, if it's
Hmm.
somebody cutting and pasting. I can also tell by how they present themselves. They're not looking interested in me. They're interested in selling their services. Yeah,
Well, and that's one of the things where I kind of get on my soapbox about, there's all these things out there like, oh, make 6 figures right now, just follow my templates. And well, your templates are in your voice. So yes, they worked for you, but
Right.
but somebody else using your words to portray their business, first of all, there's going to be a disconnect. That
Right.
person is going to have a disconnect from those words because they're not their own, and they're
Right.
going to feel wonky just doing it. And then that is what goes out. And that's what people pick up on, is that disconnect. They have
Right.
no idea why. They
Right.
don't know what it is.
And that's the reason why. It's
And
because they
that's
don't have it. They did not
that's it.
convert it. They use those scripts, but they didn't convert it into their voice. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things I do for my, even though I may have some templates and everything like that and a framework, but that's why we personalize it and customize it and help
Exactly.
people find their own voice, because those automated machines don't quite cut it. Because, even I have some automated stuff that go out, but I have to go in and customize it.
Go in and customize. Yeah, absolutely. And again, bring your voice to it. And
Right.
so, yes, instead of sending out the same, response message to, 100 different people, now it just goes out automatically, but it's still your words. It's still what you would have said to
Exactly.
that person. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it just makes more sense that way. So it sounds to me like the main common thread is just own your skills and make sure that you really are being authentic in your voice and everything that you
Yeah.
do, because it's going to show up and people are going to see through fake. I mean, yeah, you can fake it till
Yeah.
you make it to a certain extent.
Hmm.
You can fake confidence, but at the same time, at the end of the day, you have to be willing to live with yourself for that too.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that's why you want to stay true to yourself, and
Hmm.
don't worry about what everyone else thinks, because they're all
Hmm.
in it for themselves anyway. I hate to say it, we're pretty self-centered by nature. I
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And yeah, and it's the idea is not to get as many people as you can. It's to help, especially for heart-centered people, it's to help the ones that are
that
meant to
really
be helped. So, yeah,
right,
that really want it, your
need
tribe,
it.
basically. You're going to draw your tribe.
Yep.
And yeah, and again, like, I just still I love what you're saying about the strength based, because that's one of the things I see everybody is automatic default is to beat themselves up over their weaknesses rather than celebrate their strengths. And I know that a lot of times the strengths don't feel like strengths because they come easy to you.
Right.
Well, everybody can do that. Well, actually, no.
Not everybody, yeah, your strengths. I have a virtual assistant I brought on recently, and her strengths are she geeks out. It relaxes her to copy and paste and do stuff like that, and organize emails. It frustrates the crap out of me. So I'm like, I'm so glad somebody geeks out over that, because I'm more happy to pass that to somebody who enjoys that sort of
Yes.
job, because it
Yeah.
drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't tell you how many emails I have. I'm still trying to sort through. It's well over the 100,000 mark. We'll just put it that way. I don't want to embarrass myself too much. It's not that I haven't seen it. I highlight the ones, but I keep forgetting to go back and deleting them and
Hmm.
organizing them in files. So she's helping me organize. Thank goodness I got someone who knows what they're doing. But anyway, the long story short of, and likes what. So there you go. But the long story short of it is, it's just like you need to play into your strengths, focus less on the weaknesses, because the world tells you what's wrong, but they
Hmm.
don't tell you how to fix it. And I think
Hmm.
that's where a lot of problems is. They don't want, they want to, you got to find the right way to fix it. Remember how I said at the beginning that I had a learning disability? I
Hmm.
also had speech problem. I had to
Hmm.
learn to overcome it.
Yeah.
I had to figure out ways that worked for me to communicate and to take care of the things I needed to take care of. I had to find different ways to learn my subject matters. I had to see it, hear it, and say it. Everybody has a different way of learning, and there's
Hmm.
no right or wrong way of learning. That's what I told a professor back when I was in college, and he said, "Oh, well, there's only one way to learn my class and learn this material in my class, and you do X, Y, Z, and blah blah blah." And I turned to him and says, "I have a learning disability, right? I don't buy into that for one. I learn differently, and there's nothing wrong with it." And he said, you passed the next test and proved to me you can learn it a different way. I'm gonna leave you alone the rest of the semester." I passed it with a B. He shut his mouth, and I never heard a complaint from him since. But sometimes you just have to prove people that there's
Yeah.
more than one way to learn stuff.
Yes.
I mean, there's more than one way to get tasks done. I mean, there's so many tasks. There's almost too many ways to do it these days.
That's true.
And you have to find the right one that works for you, because
Yeah.
what works for me is not going to always work for Koala, right?
Mm-hmm.
What works for you might not work for Joe Smo. And I'm just
Yeah,
saying that
for sure.
generically. So,
Yeah.
we all, that's why I said be authentic, find your voice, and then find what works for you as far as how you learn, how you divide up those tasks, how you take care of those leadership skills things. One of the things I've learned about leaders is that each one of them that were successful had some daily habits,
Mm-hmm.
and they also had their own leadership styles.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find out your own leadership styles, and you have to find out what works for you and your team. And then you also have to find out what is your 5 daily habits. It could be 3, it could be more, but generally 3 to 5 is about the max that I would recommend. And you got to find out what that works, what those daily habits work for you. And you just have to make sure that you are consistent and persistent, and those are your non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those are the ones that will help build those habits. One of the reasons why I am got over 7,800, probably 7,900 connections on LinkedIn and over 1,000 on Facebook is I am consistently out on social media. I may not be posting every day, but I'm reaching out. I'm connecting in groups. I connect. If someone posts something I like, I make a comment on it. It may
Mm-hmm.
not be absolutely every day that I do each one of those things, but somewhere along the lines, I'm doing at least one of those things
Yeah.
daily, and at least 15 minutes a day, and sometimes longer if I have more time.
But that's all
So
it takes is
that's
15
all it
minutes.
takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. People
You
like to
know,
make it longer, but it's really not that long.
yeah, it doesn't need to be. What I love about your story is, for a lot of people, when they realize maybe they have a learning disability or, some sort of something, they feel different and they
Mhm.
don't like that. They don't want to feel different.
They want to belong.
And yeah, they want to be, yeah, the same as everyone else. And, what I love is that you embraced different and you teach people different. And when you look at the results, really all the great people, the people who are the most successful are different.
Yep.
They don't follow the status quo. They don't do things the way everybody else does. They find their difference, they celebrate it, and they
Own
you
it,
know
and they do it.
own
They
it.
deal
They
with it.
capitalize on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's really a good point, because one of the things I had an event, one of my managers early on in the business said to me, Marie, you don't do anything normal. And I laughed just
And
like
you said,
that.
thank you.
Exactly. I said, thank you. And they were like, because if I did do everything normal, how would I get noticed?
That's right.
See,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Celebrate the differences. It's
Yeah.
not about what we can't do. It's about what we can do and focus on the future. Was it when you were younger and you were looking forward to being 18 and an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were looking forward to, oh, I can get my driver's license in a car. And birthdays were exciting because you knew you were getting closer to one of the rites of passage. And one of them is being able to drive a car and being able to vote, and being some people that focus was being able to drink. Never was my focus, but whatever floats your boat. But the long story short is we were always looking forward to things. So I was seeing some of my friends who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and stuff and so forth. Yes, I've got friends older than me too, and then younger as well. And I noticed the difference in the attitudes between people's birthdays. And
Mm-hmm.
when they come around and they're like, I never got this done, and I'm another year older, and blah, 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 blah. And they always were looking at the negative side. And I've always
Mm-hmm.
been one to flip it around and look at the positive side, just been my little quirk. Um, I don't know, because I don't know if it's a quirk or if it's an actual asset. I don't know. I
It's an
wouldn't just.
asset.
Is it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone has a different perspective on that. So I view it as an asset, but like I said, everyone has a different perspective. But the long story short of it, I told him, I says, why don't you sit there and figure out, oh, this is what I've accomplished so far. Look
Yeah.
at what you've done in a
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
and realize you've accomplished a lot in a
And
year.
that's it. When you go back and you reflect on the accomplishments and you show gratitude,
Yes.
you're welcoming more.
Right. And then
You're,
look and set goals for things that you want to accomplish. And
yeah,
set the bar a little higher that's going to make you stretch and make
yeah.
you think bigger than yourself. Because not all goals have to be focused on yourself. You might want time with your family. You might want a better job. You might want a new career. You might want to start business for yourself. By the way, if you need a
Mhm.
business coach, let me know. But anyway, the long story short, I'm open. But anyway, long story short, there's nothing wrong with changing and pivoting in your life. My life lesson should teach you that I went from being in a daycare setting to owning my own daycare at one point, and I had people that were negative along the way. I was start off as a virtual assistant before it became a thing, before the lovely little virus we had decided to make us all work from home, and I was like, oh, I'm already adjusted. I knew what I was doing at that point.
Yeah,
I was there to help other people figure that out. And
yeah,
so I just had to make clearer things on myself. So long story short, you can figure out what it is that you want to do. And it doesn't
yeah.
matter what it is. Just don't be afraid to make a pivot if you need to change.
I was just having a conversation with someone recently, and they're like, "Oh, my job sucks. I'm stuck." I'm like, wow, you know, that's going to keep you stuck. But if you think about, okay, what are the things about this job I'm grateful for? What
Right.
do I love about it? And I welcome more of that into my life. And, you stay in that vibration of positive and gratitude. Well, then now you're going to attract something
That,
with that and more, with more
yes.
of the stuff that you do want, and maybe be able to move away from what it is you don't want. But as soon as you say, I'm stuck, then you are stuck,
Right. And it's all
because
about the
that's
power
what
of
you're
the
putting.
words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you're putting out there. And again, yeah, that communication. Now you're
The pos-
communicating with the universe.
Exactly. The power of positive affirmations is so crucial to anything I've done,
Mhm.
anybody who's been successful. And I encourage you to flip those messages around. Take the
Yeah,
negative spin and put the positive spin in it and see what your outlook is in the next month to 10 days to 60 days. I mean, if you do that, you'd be amazed at what you could do. Um,
yeah,
there's an old phrase, and hopefully I can remember it, but you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar.
that's it.
It's an old American expression for those who are listening that are overseas. I know there will be some. So I have a lot of group from all over the world, so my reach is not just U.S. But
Nice.
long story short, I really want to encourage people to sit there and understand that that phrase is simple. When you catch more flies as honey, it's just like make your messages positive,
Yeah,
upbeat, encouraging, and reflect your authentic self. And I will tell you, you're going to catch more flies, more people. Your peeps, your tribe are going to come to you because of that positive message. Now,
yeah,
if you're a normal and negative Debbie Downer, guess what? That's the people you're going to attract.
that's it. That's who's coming to see you.
And they're coming to see you because of where you're at in your self-image, because you're going to
Mm-hmm.
attract people who are at your self-image and above,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to make sure that your self-image is above reproach. So
Mm-hmm.
so if you have a self-image that's lower than a pregnant ant, and yes, I say that loosely, so it's like really small, um you might want to raise your self-image
Yeah.
and build on that. And there's some us coaches can help you. Oh my gosh, there's some great books out there. The art when and art of the what's it called? The art of winning friends and influencing people. How to win
Mm.
friends and influencing people is by Dale Carnegie. I knew I'd get the book right. There's so many books out there that'll be great for helping boost your self-image.
Yeah.
Did you know that Dale Carnegie, when he was writing before he was writing that book, and he was shy.
Mm. I did not know.
My dad met him years ago,
Mm-hmm.
before he read the book, I think, and it may have been right around that time when it was released. I don't remember, but anyway, long story short, he was shy,
Mm.
and he learned how to uh, talk to people.
Yeah.
And his book was all about his lessons in his life that he learned himself. So he's taught us what he learned. in his own experience. So
Wow.
that should give you some hope for those who might be shy. You don't have to
Yeah.
be extroverted like me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? You don't have to be me. What you do is you do have to find yourself, your voice, and what it
Yep.
is that you want to share with the world. So,
And that's it. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, because yeah, you focus on those strengths, right? And which he probably writing was his strength, right?
mhm,
And then a lot of times, the challenge might actually be what we're here to teach,
right,
how we overcame it. And in his case, for sure.
exactly. And,
Yeah.
hopefully that helps clear up some things. I mean, is there anything else you wanted me to expand on or?
No, I'm just curious, any last nuggets of wisdom that you want to share? We've kind of given a lot throughout the talk.
They've
So,
been drinking through a fire hose already because we talked
yeah,
about your making
I
sure you
like
find
that.
your authentic voice. So, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself
Hmm.
because you can make those pivots in your life and
Yeah.
personally and also professionally. Um, Overcome any challenge. A lot of it's just being determined, really, I
Hmm.
think. So, my biggest message is um, you can overcome anything as long
Hmm.
as you have the mindset to do it.
Yeah.
And I can't stress how you're not just being a business owner mindset, but just like your personal outlook
Yeah.
is important. That being positive
Yeah.
is important because it's going to, like you said, it's going to attract positive in your life.
Hmm.
It's all about that. It's all about how you picture your life to be and where it's not where you're at. It's where you want to be. If you're picturing where you're at, that's what you're going to keep getting of. But if you
Hmm.
picture where you want to be and the life you really want, that's going to carry more weight and tell the universe what you really want. Tell the Lord and everything else that you want this particular stuff for yourself,
Yeah.
and you'll track that. And if you go out and tell people, "Oh, I'm such and such and I'm looking for this kind of group, this kind of target market," then you share that message enough, the right people that are going to join your tribe. And you're
Yeah.
going to be so grateful that you had that positive focus doing it.
Yeah. It'll almost feel like magic.
Mhm. And
It'll seem,
don't worry about the pets. They're part of our life.
yeah, making a lot of noise out there.
That's okay. They're excited.
Yes. Well, Marie, this has been wonderful. I have so enjoyed talking with you. I think that this is such a great conversation and so important because again, like I can't, you know, say enough. Just that idea of knowing, I really think that focusing on your strengths, allowing yourself to be different, celebrating your differences, all of that, it really increases our sense of worthiness.
It
And
does.
when we feel worthy, that's when that's when good things happen in our lives. And I can't say enough. I could probably sit here and talk all night about, how important that is. And so, yeah, I hope that, people just even take a nugget of this wisdom and,
Aw,
of course, reach out to Marie if you
yeah.
would like to get into some event management, get some help with that and your heart-centered business, because obviously she is fantastic with that.
Aw, thank you.
And yes, and I
I got a
just
book
want,
coming out too.
and that's right. And the book is coming out. We are so excited to hear about the release date for that.
I'll let you
And
know what it is, but
okay,
I don't have a set one where it's at the illustrators now. So it's a children's book and it's all
yes,
about looking through the lens of a dyslexic child. So
yeah,
you're seeing what they are seeing, helping them make better choices and helping them, resolve some conflict and issues. Cause I mean, it's all about finding your authentic voice and about making
yeah,
sure that people understand that we do have to celebrate our differences and celebrate and not just celebrate our differences, but also what we can do. What are our abilities, and what we can
yeah,
contribute, and less
yeah,
pointing fingers at the things that we can't do and focus all about what it is we can do. What can we contribute? Because
yeah,
everyone can contribute. It's just a matter of let's find out what that is like
mm-hmm,
for you. And if we
yes,
have to make things work differently, like if we have to work around some challenges, we can do that. I mean, it's not
that's,
hard.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
not hard. We can figure it out.
Yeah, the more different, the better.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
differences are what makes you stand out.
Yes, yes, yes. I know.
So,
We have to go, for so many of us, we have to program all those, like, school age years of being told, no, you got to be the same to fit in. And now we've got to unprogram all of that, but that's okay. We can do it.
pretty much. Yeah,
So,
pretty
yeah,
much. So let's celebrate our differences in
that's
everything that
it.
we do. So,
Yes. And of course, just remember to keep pushing through because there is a spark in you. Thanks so much for being here at Breakthrough or Bust. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. We love you. Bye.
have a great one. Bye.